On May 27th, one of adult animation's favorite families finally got a theatrical film. The Belchers, in their consistent bad luck, are thrust into a musical number-filled mystery movie when a sinkhole opens up in front of the restaurant. It seems that both fans of the show, and even people who haven't seen the show, actually love this film.
They're a cute couple.
I give him a year.
And honestly, we have to agree. But just like any movie, there is quite the spectrum of characters. And we're here to ask who's the best of the best, and who's left at the bottom of the barrel. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and this is the Bob's Burgers movie, Good to Evil. Firstly, today we're going to be focusing exclusively on the events of the film. We've covered the show in the past, and really just want to talk about the new movie today. And secondly, and more importantly, consider this your spoiler warning, as the movie is really new, and there are some pretty big twists. With that out of the way, as usual, we'll be starting with the most good and noble character, and working our way down to the most evil. These characters are the good. Taking the gold medal of good is the burger matriarch, Linda Belcher. Linda has always been one of the best characters in the show thanks to her upbeat attitude and intense love for her family. In the movie, she tries her best to keep Bob upbeat as well, ranging from the intro song to the burger girl suit later on. She's also the one who helped form the idea of taking the burgers to the wharf. Linda always tries to keep Bob and the family in high spirits, and she never gives up except when it seems like they're about to die. Linda is the best of the best because she is the most optimistic person, and without her, the movie probably would have been a lot darker. Our silver medal of good goes to our good friend Teddy. Teddy is a recurring character in the show, getting a burger nearly every day. This is no different in the movie as he comes to get burgers even after the sinkhole opens up. However, he's also the one behind the mobile Bob burger cart that seems to make Bob a lot of cash. He's also the one who saves the Belchers from the clam cart after the escape from the sinkhole. And Teddy too is very optimistic, just like Linda, and he cares very much for the Belchers in the shop. However, he does abandon the cart with King Trashmouth to watch a hockey game, and also abandons the Belchers at Wonder Wharf near the climax of the film. But still, we can't drop him any lower. The bronze medal of good goes to Gene Belcher. Gene is the middle child of Linda and Bob, and a musical savant, comedic person, and general fun guy.
I'll go first because I have the biggest ding-dong.
Gene's whole arc in the film is the creation of the napkin-y thing, a musical instrument created from a napkin holder and plastic sporks that he uses to make fun sounds. He creates it and begins to doubt if it's any good, and he wishes to prove it by being part of the Wonder Wharf show. He is responsible for helping defeat Grover, and is definitely a good person throughout the film. He's also the one who ends up pushing the button that sends them down to the clubhouse, and is partly the reason why they get held up by Grover. Next we have Tina Belcher. Tina is the oldest child of Linda and Bob, and she is a smart, hopeless romantic who wants to get with Jimmy Jr. at any cost. Throughout the film, she is scared that Jimmy Jr. won't live up to her fantasies, which is a fear that many people deal with. That said, by the end of the movie, she ends up asking him and kissing him. She's also the one to use the Poseidon nipple statue and get the Belchers away from Grover. She shows quite the growth throughout the film, and doesn't hyperventilate. Tina saves her family, grows to be more confident, and definitely earns her place in the good section. And rounding out the good section, we have Bob Belcher. Bob is the owner of Bob's Burgers, who opened the burger joint as a young man with a vision. He cares very heavily for his family, and will do just about anything for them. Sure, throughout the film he's depressed when the sinkhole opens up, but he's always cheered up by Linda. By the end of the film, he's the only one who doesn't give up, and is the one who comes up with the idea to split the water main so they could escape. Bob even reveals that what Louise thought about her hat was untrue, saying that her hat was based on his own mother's hat, showing that she's always been brave. Bob only falls to the bottom because of his depression and general thoughts of giving up, though he does end up being the one to keep everyone optimistic during their time trapped in the clam. With our good characters out of the way, we now move into more neutral territory. This is the gray area. Starting off our gray area is our final Belcher, Louise Belcher. Louise is undoubtedly the main character and the heart of this film. She is the youngest Belcher child and feels she has a lot to prove. She thinks she's not brave because of her misremembering the story of her bunny ears. Throughout the film, she wants to solve the murder of Cotton Candy Dan at any cost to prove that she's not a baby and actually a brave person. She finds that she's not brave enough to save her family when they're held up by Grover, and was too scared to insert the sinkhole. Louise only lands in the gray area because she is responsible for them getting held up by Grover, but she lands at the top of it because she leads to the correct person being arrested. And rounding out the gray area is everyone's favorite cop, Sergeant Bosco. Bosco is a recurring cop character who was demoted from homicide down to robbery. He appears periodically to give information about the murder and complain about being in robbery. He informs Luis and company about the educated banana cufflinks and is the one that is called with info about Grover. He lands here because he is kind of a jerk towards the kids and doesn't give them any information until they insult him for being in robbery. But he isn't a bad guy, so he's a good choice to round out our gray area. Now we get to the bottom of the barrel. These characters are the bad and the evil. Starting off this section, we have the middle school menace, Chloe Barbash. Chloe is a recurring character and consistent rival to Louise in a few different ways. During the film, she is the driving force behind Louise's journey by calling her a baby. She constantly teases Louise and laughs at her because of her hat, which is kind of rude. She fulfills this bully role quite well, but doesn't do too much beyond that, which is why she ranks here. Taking the bronze medal of evil is Felix Fischoeder. Felix has been a recurring character since season 4 and plays a major role in this film. He is the initial suspect for framing Calvin and is ready to flee the country. That said, out of the 3 Fischoeders, he is by far the best. And that's simply because he is kind of dumb and doesn't really do anything majorly evil. Yeah, he's preparing to flee the country with his brother and doesn't want to be around the Belchers kids, but the actions of the other Fischoeders are way worse. Taking the silver medal of evil is Mr. Calvin Fischoeder. Calvin is the Belchers' landlord and a consistent thorn in their side due to his constant bugging about the rent.
Hello, Bob and female Bob.
Calvin in this film initially seems to refuse the family delaying their rent payment so they can pay the bank, and is then arrested for a crime he didn't commit. He seems to be absolutely despised by his employees at the wharf, since they all believe he is willing to bump them off, and he also pays them terribly. He cares very much about appearances and is responsible for many crimes, although he was never caught. Calvin is one of the most evil characters in the main show, but he definitely plays second fiddle in the film, because the gold medal of evil has to go to Grover Fischoeder. Grover is Calvin and Felix's cousin and has made a few appearances in the show since season 9. He is the main antagonist of the movie, as he was the one who killed Cotton Candy Dan. He tries to frame Calvin for the murder because of the aforementioned many crimes Calvin has committed, and was never caught for. By the end of the movie, when he's caught, he reveals his intensely thought out plan, and then proceeds to try and kill Calvin and Felix in their submarine. Grover even attempts to kill the Belchers, first with a crossbow and then later by burying them. Grover obviously fails and ends up arrested by the end of the movie, but his many attempts at murder just to create a giant amusement park are obvious grounds for the gold medal of evil. And with our morality spectrum wrapped up, let's award our sinner medals. The Darwin medal goes to Sergeant Bosco, who during a stakeout leaves his police light, badge, and coffee with his police ranking visible, so everyone, including Critter, realized that he was a cop. Our envy medal goes to the main villain, Grover Fischoeder, who is envious of the money that Calvin gets and wants to take it for himself. In fact, Grover also gets our greed medal, because his entire plan is based on getting money over human lives. The lust medal goes to Tina Belcher, thanks to her erotic friend fiction and consistent dreaming of Jimmy Jr. The gluttony medal goes to our old friend Teddy, who spends most of his screen time eating or working with the restaurant in some way, shape, or form. Finally, our pride medal goes to Mr. Fischoeder, who thinks that Grover is part of the bad side of the family because they're poor. But let us know in the comment section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.